All right. Well, everybody, welcome to Drop the Gloves, episode 13, week 14. This is the conference championship week. I'm your host, Paul. I'm joined by guest Bryce and guest Cloud here. So we're going to go ahead and get started if you guys want to say what's up to everybody.
One, two, three people.
So we're going to move on and get started and recap the games from Saturday first. I'm sure you guys will have a few to say about a couple different games here. We'll start out with Thursday, which was the Egg Bowl. Got Ole Miss beating Mississippi State 31-21 and covering the 2-point spread.
Do you guys know who Brandon Walker is?
No.
No.
You don't know who Brandon Walker is?
I don't think so.
He's one of the main people on the Unnecessary Roughness podcast, and he's probably the biggest Mississippi State fan I've ever met. I've ever watched. I've never met him, but they did a live stream of that game with him and another person that he works with, and his friend's an Ole Miss fan, and he was losing it. After Mississippi State missed 3 touchdown passes in a row.
Oh, I saw the clip of that.
It was probably the funniest reaction I've ever seen.
No, that was literally. I saw that. I mean, does anybody what's the big deal with this game anyway?
Honestly, like, this game is kind of like the Oklahoma versus Oklahoma State game. It's just like an in-state rivalry that happens.
It's a big deal in Mississippi though.
Isn't it kind of weird that they played it on Thanksgiving?
Yeah, but
that is definitely weird.
A couple other teams played too. I think they do that every year.
Okay. I mean, I found it a little odd, but sorry, I saw the 3 drop touchdown passes in a row. I did see that.
Yeah, that.
And then they missed the field goal afterwards.
Oh yeah,
I didn't watch this game at all.
Oh, well, that's all right. I mean, there's
it didn't intrigue me,
I got you. Now we're gonna hop over here to Notre Dame versus Stanford. Notre Dame looked dominant again with a 45-14 win. This was like a last-ditch effort, I would say, here, Bryce, for Ohio State to pull a straw and maybe have a puncher's chance. But if Stanford was worth a damn, they could play a close game, but they couldn't. So Notre Dame just rolls over the Stanford Cardinal, aka the Trees, and Notre Dame looked pretty good to end the year, and then lost their head coach.
Notre Dame has looked really good these past couple of weeks. That's my second favorite team, Notre Dame. But they have looked pretty dominant. Like ever since the Virginia Tech game, I think it was the last game they struggled in. They only won by a couple points. Then it came down to the last second. Notre Dame's looked great. They have looked fantastic, and it's a shame that because they don't play in a conference, they're not going to get a conference championship game to prove themselves. Because they honestly, I mean, they do deserve it to go to the playoffs, but at the same time, there's so many more other teams deserving of it as well.
Well, a big thing for me was I think that the committee dropping Wisconsin from number 14 all the way out of the rankings wasn't necessarily to knock the Big Ten this week. I think it was mostly to knock Notre Dame, that they wouldn't have a win in the top 25 with Wisconsin.
Yeah.
When they compare a resume here down the stretch. Next up, we got BYU and USC. BYU wins 35-31. USC covered the 8.5-point spread. I gotta be honest, that BYU had a pretty solid season for a season that people didn't think were gonna be that great with Zach Wilson leaving. But USC a big letdown at 4-7. But now they're gonna have Cloud's favorite coach come in town, and
you mean the fucking snake in college football? Honestly, I don't really see him doing anything next year. I mean, if you be honest with you. Look at Lincoln Riley's first 2 years. I mean, he had most of Bob Stoops' players still.
It'll be a while. I think it'll be 3 or 4 years before he gets that team going. Because you got to think, I mean, he's taking over an already bad team. Unlike Oklahoma, Oklahoma was stacked by the time he got there. Yeah. They're taking over a bad team, and his recruits aren't going to be in yet. I mean, he still has 2022, 2023 recruits that need to come in, and those are going to be freshmen when they're playing. So. Team full of freshmen is not going to
I saw a tweet and it said how long, or it was a post from Fox and it said how long until Lincoln Riley led USC to win the Pac-12. The good thing for them is they're in the Pac-12.
Yeah, easiest conference. Pac-12 is easier than the ACC.
Yeah.
What's the one? They're the Pac-12 South. Oh yeah.
They won't take that long.
I mean, don't get me wrong, he was like a good coach, but I don't really know. Like the first 2 years, he had Bob Stoops quarterbacks, and then he had Spencer Rattler last year. That was
He
like
hasn't
his
developed a
recruit.
quarterback. His quarterbacks, yeah, exactly. His quarterbacks have not been good.
Yeah.
Spencer Rattler started the season last year 1-2. Then he finished strong. I'll give him that. And then this year he just degressed.
He was
And
the
you could say the
Heisman
same
favorite
thing.
going into the year.
I
I'm
know,
glad his
and you
ass
could
is
say the same thing
transferring.
about Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams looked great coming into Texas, and then more teams got film on him, and he just slowly regressed as well. Granted, he
Yeah,
played great this weekend against Oklahoma State.
I
He
just
will win
think
the
what do
Heisman
you call
today.
it? Everyone saw the way like Riley was with Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray, and then kind of with Jalen Hurts, and they're just like, oh, he's a quarterback whisperer. Nah, those guys are just talented as fuck.
Yeah.
To be honest.
There you go. Next up, we'll stay in the pack, and we'll keep it at San Diego State beating Boise State, 27-16. San Diego State silently with an 11-1 season, and they covered the 3-point spread.
I think San Diego State's kind of like UTSA. I mean, they've been there. Everyone's seen them, but just haven't been impressive, to be honest. I mean,
Yeah.
other than having that record, they haven't looked impressive at all against any
Yeah.
team they've really played.
I agree. I definitely agree with that. Next game, we're going to stay on the Friday games. That's going to be Iowa at Nebraska. Iowa wins 28-21. Iowa covered the 1.5-point spread, but Nebraska 3-9 blew a lead in this game, and that means all 9 of their opponents beat them by less than 9 points on the entire year.
If I'm gonna be honest with you, I honestly thought Nebraska had the game. I was watching it, like okay, maybe Nebraska's gonna finally win. And, they get into like the third and fourth quarter, and I just think they start to, Scott Frost starts to go into cruise mode, and he stops being like aggressive.
Yeah,
Then
and their
they
schedule
shoot
was
themselves
brutal
in the
this year.
foot. Yeah.
Brutal, and they were in every single game, just didn't win.
Yeah. I think Scott Frost is just. I think he just gets too conservative going into the second half.
Yeah,
I think he just needs to start like being aggressive until like the 2 minutes left in the fourth, and you go into that 2-minute drill.
Yeah.
But he just. I don't know why, but he just does that. And
Yeah,
honestly, it's cost him a couple games this year.
but as like a fan of another team in the Big Ten, Nebraska's kind of like scary going into the next year, and it's weird to say that about a 3-9 team, but like they're right there with everybody.
To be honest with you, I thought Nebraska looked better without Adrian Martinez this week.
Yeah, I
I
agree, and
agree.
he's been there for like 12 years. It feels like.
Yeah.
Next up, we got Missouri and Arkansas. Arkansas wins 34-17. They covered the 14.5-point spread. Missouri fell to 6-6. Arkansas improves to 8-4. Missouri is bowl eligible, which is kind of a big deal for them. But now everybody can say that I'm a hater for this, but here's the deal: the SEC plays 4 FCS teams generally, while everybody else plays 3. That leaves them only 2 games to win in conference to be bowl eligible, and I think that's a big reason why they have the most.
Yeah. I'd have to agree.
I don't know how you feel about that, Bryce, but like I think that like teams like Missouri or something like they just don't really seem like a 6-6 bowl. I mean, when you think of bowl eligible teams, you usually don't want bad teams in a bowl, and I don't. And I think Missouri's pretty bad.
I think you do have a point. You have a good point. They only have to win 2 conference games, and they only play 8 conference games, so they're given 8 chances, considering they go 4-0, which they should. Yeah, and they have Vanderbilt, and then Missouri again is one of those teams that people like to beat up on too. So, like Missouri's going is just it's pretty sad to a point.
I mean, it's an issue that I think we all have talked about at least before in our chat, where it's just like, well, I know that we went really into depth about it. Like, the scheduling is benefiting these SEC teams way more than anybody else, and they have the same amount of teams as everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, I just think I hate to say it, but to me, the committee is just so like SEC bias. Like, I mean, you look at a 2-loss Alabama. I bet they're going to try and figure a way to get Alabama in the playoffs if they lose to Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're really pulling the strings of anybody in here because I think we're all three in agreement that the SEC's bias is very real and
And I
very
mean,
apparent, and they make no effort to hide it. It's literally straight in your face, like they plan on doing it every time. Like I said, LSU 6-6, been horrible all year. Got boat raced by UCLA. Texas A&M loses to them. They keep them right in at 25 instead of 26 or anything. I would argue for Purdue to be there. I mean, I know you guys saw the big text I put, and I kind of want to avoid the big rankings this week because there's a lot more other stuff to talk about in college football. So we'll get to some of that. But I mean, Arkansas, I think they're a pretty decent team. I don't think they're great by any means, but I think they're decent. I think their defense struggles, but they have a solid offense, and they should be a pretty good competitor in a bowl game.
yeah, I mean, I watched them play against Alabama a little bit, and it didn't look like they were like as bad as people are saying.
Also, I don't think Alabama looks as good as everybody says.
Yeah, that too. That too. Holy shit, I can't talk.
Texas A&M's the only four-loss team ranked.
Well, Arkansas too.
Yeah, Arkansas is ranked 23rd now.
Yeah.
So, and they're both from the SEC, and then you have teams like 8-4 Purdue and 8-4 Wisconsin who just don't even sniff it. I mean, if you look at the big text I sent in there, Bryce, if you want to reiterate it while I have the chat pulled up, I mean, I got plenty of depth and everything in there. The next game, yeah, I mean, we can.
All right.
If you want.
I was gonna say real quick about the top 25. This past week, everyone in the top 25 currently ranked. Everyone currently beat their team they played except for Oklahoma and Texas A&M. Lost to Oklahoma State and Texas A&M lost to LSU. Every other team ranked in the top 25 won this past weekend.
Well, I don't know if you guys watched this game, but Cincinnati beats East Carolina 35-13. Cincinnati covered a 14.5. Cincinnati looked pretty good in this game. I would say they started a little slow, but they came back and fought. The thing is, they shouldn't have to be doing that against East Carolina, but if they're going to compete with Georgia and Alabama and co. But, I mean, overall, pretty good win. I mean, we'll really see what they're made out of with Houston this week. You guys think so?
I do. Houston's an underrated team in my opinion. Their only loss came from Texas Tech, and that was the season opener. Houston has they beat every team on their schedule other than that season opener, and they are in the same conference as the Cincinnati. So I don't see I mean, I guess you can give props to Cincinnati for scheduling the game with Notre Dame, but they've really played same teams for the most part.
Yeah, and I'm with you. Houston, to me, I've been fighting for them to be in the rankings for weeks now. I mean, when you win 9 games in a row, 10 games in a row, now 11 games in a row, like there's no way that you should be kept out no matter what conference you're in FBS. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I completely agree.
Next up, we got in the Pac-12. Utah comes out and stumbles a little bit, but they ultimately overpower Colorado 28-13. Colorado covers the 24-point spread, but I mean they dropped to 4-8. Colorado has been bad for a long time, and I think they are literally one of the worst teams in the FBS. Like
Oh yeah, 100%.
they're on a Vanderbilt, a little bit better than Vanderbilt type level to me. And no team that's really good should really struggle with them or anything like that. I mean, we watched Oregon dominate this team. We watched Minnesota dominate this team. You know who didn't dominate this team? Texas A&M. Yeah, and that's embarrassing because Utah played bad in this game to start off, and they still won by double digits, not 10-7. Utah and Oregon have a matchup this week. We'll get into it once we come down.
Yeah, I personally didn't watch that.
Does Oklahoma State jump UC with a win? I think that they do.
I think they should too.
That's Cincinnati.
You can call me biased for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're biased. You don't get to talk on this.
You can call me biased for that, but we would have back-to-back wins against top 10 opponents. And if you still want to make the argument that they'll use the top 15 team based on where they're seeded, that's fine. We'd still have back-to-back ranked wins in the top 15 and a conference championship.
You still gotta beat Baylor though. That's the thing.
That's the point I'm making though. That's what I'm saying. If we win this weekend, they should 100% jump them.
Oh yeah,
UC
I agree.
Houston,
as much as I hate Oklahoma State, I would have to agree.
Well, and here's the thing for me. Cincinnati is in a spot where they kind of don't control their own destiny with a win, but they have three viable options, all that could potentially happen. You root for Georgia to beat Alabama, you root for Baylor to beat Oklahoma State, and you root for Iowa to beat Michigan. Um, realistically, one of those three is more than likely bound to happen. So I think they're not in a horrible spot to make the playoff, realistically, guys.
No.
No,
My
I can't
thing
agree.
is just if they make it, are they gonna be able to hang like they did last year at Georgia? Because I mean, Georgia this year looks a whole lot different than they did last year.
Yeah, I agree. But the thing is, Georgia schedule this year, we've talked about it, is just not that great. So I'm yet to see what Georgia's really made of, and I think it's worth noting. I mean, I know Bryce, you kind of like Notre Dame in that, but usually the four spot does not really compete that well with the one spot anyway. So if Cincinnati does get in at the four, I mean, it really won't be any different than watching Notre Dame play Alabama last year or Oklahoma playing LSU the year before.
Yeah.
Like I'm not trying to hate on any of your guys' teams with that. I'm just saying
No,
like
no,
if
no.
one
You're
team
good.
usually gets beat handily in the four spot, what's it gonna hurt if you let Cincinnati get a shot at it instead of somebody else?
Well, and who would the other team be? Would you really put Bama in there at 4 again if they win? Because that's exactly what it'd be. They'd be
I
playing
mean,
back to back weeks.
I wouldn't, but the committee might.
Yeah, exactly. We're all in
That's
agreement here. So we'll move on to this next game. NC State beats UNC 34-30. North Carolina covered the 6.5 point spread, but ultimately the Wolfpack win 34-30 in their rivalry game. I honestly think North Carolina's got to be one of the biggest letdown teams this year. They started out the AP
Well,
poll
did
as
you
number
watch the
10.
game?
I didn't.
Did,
I was
did,
not able to watch this
did,
game.
did you hear about what happened? I watched the ending of it, and that was the most insane ending ever. It was there's a little over a minute left in the game in the fourth quarter, and UNC was up 30-21, I think, and that they ended up marching down the field, scoring a touchdown. Then they got the onside kick, and they scored another
No
touchdown,
way.
all within like a minute of each other. And that's how they ended up beating North Carolina. North Carolina was leading, and it was like 3rd and 16 or something like that, 4th and 16, something like that,
That's
and it was
brutal.
crazy.
So today is going to be what, like I made a post. It's going to be one of the most interactive episodes. So as we have a lot of stuff going on, we'll take questions from the chat or read our questions that we pulled. And we got another question here. Weird scenario: Bama, Cincy, Michigan all lose. Who's in? So Georgia would be the unanimous number one at that point. If Cincy, Michigan all lose, number two slot would slide into Oklahoma State. Number three slot would slide into Notre Dame. Four slot, you're looking at a debate between Baylor, or not Baylor, I guess they would have three losses. You're looking at a debate for, I guess, a two-loss Bama, a
or
two-loss
two loss
Iowa.
Iowa,
I
and
mean,
maybe a two loss Ohio State.
I think they
I,
don't really have a big shot to get in. Ohio State, realistically.
I think Ohio State's still the better team over Iowa, but you can't put
Yeah.
they have the same record, and one of them has the conference championship in the same
Yeah.
conference. So that's that too. They're in the
And
same
also,
conference.
they wouldn't put a two-loss Michigan under Ohio State either because they just beat them last week. So, and Ohio State's not
Uh,
playing.
yeah, I don't know.
I
Look
don't
at
think
what they
Ohio State
did.
has any chance.
Uh,
No, I don't
I don't know.
either.
I think there's a slim, but it's like very, very like a 0.2% chance.
I think
In
if
this
all that
scenario, you
happens,
would need Notre Dame to lose, and they don't even play. So you're done with that. If you look at teams in front of you,
I
you would
think
need
this would
Baylor
be
to
the
win.
year that
Bama,
they lost to them.
two losses. Yeah, I think it would be two. But realistically, Cincy should win, Michigan should win, Bama should lose, and the four should be pretty concrete with Georgia, Oklahoma State, Cincinnati, and Michigan. But we'll move on. I kind of wanted to take a minute to talk about this game because this is the one I was at, and it's Ohio State at Michigan. Michigan covered the 6.5 point spread and wins 42-27.
I'm sorry, I truly
Um,
am.
the worst part of this game had nothing to do with the game.
Uh,
It was all the experience. Like I've never been in more of like a hostile environment where people
That's
just
why
do a lot of
that's
stuff
why
to
I'm
you.
sorry.
Like I could put videos in here of my cousin in the stall and they're beating on the stall and chanting on them, or got body bumped into urinals and people telling "f you" and "kill yourself" and all kinds of stuff and taking videos and flipping us off and getting in our faces, putting the pom poms in. I didn't instigate a single thing. I didn't sit there and say something or go up to say anything to anybody. And walking back, to the car, got people hanging over their balconies yelling and all kinds of stuff. Man, it was like literally one of the weirdest like. And I literally saw a couple Michigan fans and were like, "Hey, good win" or something. Like, glad you guys got one. Like, literally not even being sarcastic or anything. They straight up ignore me or do something. Like, I saw people
That's
spitting
crazy.
on cars, hitting
What
signs
the
over.
fuck?
It was pretty horrible, and like there's plenty of people that were like breaking sticks and throwing them in the road. I saw, I mean, not even in my seat. The people around my seats were pretty cool. But people were knocking people's drinks out of their hands, like just when they were walking. I mean, the amount of times I was just walking to my seat or something and just had somebody walk by, if you, something like that. Like, okay, I don't know what anything it is, or people come up and just say anything for absolutely no reason at all. I mean, people were coming up and chanting in the men's bathroom, with 100 people in there, and just
That's
it was
fucking
just,
weird.
dude, it was one of the weirdest, like, worst experiences of my entire life. Like, and then I got trapped in Michigan overnight. I had to stay there in a hotel because of it, and because of the snowstorm. And it didn't get any better.
Oh, that's
I'm sitting there at a Chili's eating dinner, and people are coming in. They got highlights replaying over and over again. Everybody's in Ann Arbor in their Michigan gear. Hear people talking. Yeah, Bryce Young, he should be the only quarterback that's even reasonable for a Heisman. Nobody else has even played anywhere near him this year. I'm just like, oh yeah, like good try. I mean, they literally were acting like it was their national championship. I had people recording us walking out of the stadium, flipping us off, telling us to get back to our whores and all kinds of stuff. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of rivalries. We talk about it, but like I've never been around something where it's just absolute hate. Like the Iron Bowl could have better games, bigger, meaningful games, but I've never seen as much hate between two teams or people. Like those people don't even know me. I was just there in an Ohio State jersey, and they instantly hate me. Like I just don't understand. I get a
that's
rivalry and all that.
college football,
I
though.
hate Michigan. I hate Michigan football and that, but I don't have a reason to hate a fan for being a fan of somebody. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't hate
Uh,
anybody as an individual for it to where I literally had people like pump faking in my face or stuff like that just when I'm walking past. Like, and it wasn't just like two times or something. Like, it was the entire time we were there, and it happened to all four of the people in my group that weren't even saying or doing anything. Walking from the car there to the stadium while we were in the stadium and walking back. Like people were kicking snow at people and throwing snow at people's cars that had Ohio license plates and all kinds of stuff. But
that's a crazy experience. That was an away game for you, and that must have sucked. Next year, I'll get to it later.
yeah, yeah.
I'm
Well,
sorry you had to go through that.
it's okay. All I gotta say is if you ever plan on going to a rivalry game, especially one that intense, and you're an away team fan, make sure that you go with people who you can handle it with and people that can take it or whatever. And
Like I said, next year I'll go be your bodyguard. Ain't no one
yeah,
fucking with me.
well, I am gonna go to this game in the shoe next year just because I can't not do it after everything that got surrounded with this game.
That's what I was gonna say. I'm gonna go to it. I'm gonna go to the Bedlam game in Norman next year because I
You
live in Norman,
are?
and yeah, it's gonna be
Oh,
scary.
I'll fucking see you there, bitch.
Are you going?
Nah,
Oh, I love
me and
the
my cousin are
rivalry.
actually we're gonna go to the Oklahoma Texas game next year, actually.
That'll be fun.
Well, in the actual game here, I gotta say it was a letdown. This was my third Ohio State game this year. Saw two blowout wins, including the week before I went to the Michigan State game. Buckeyes got out schemed again. It looked just like the carbon copy of the Oregon game. They could not stop the run. Hassan Haskins had five touchdowns in this game, but I mean, I want to give all my credit I can to Hassan Haskins, but his longest run on the day was 17 yards, and he had five touchdowns. So it's not like he was really breaking free. He got a lot of them on the goal line, which is definitely a good scheme and everything. Michigan threw everything, including the kitchen sink in this. I mean, you saw flea flickers, reverses, fake reverses, anything, a bunch of screens, whatever they needed to do. But I mean, I'm not going to hate on it. It's the scheme that they had to do to win, and they finally got one. I mean, this is the game that put Ohio State out. Just my chance, my luck that it's the 1 in 10 years I go to that they lose.
Funny because I had the exact opposite. Yeah, the one game I go to
Yeah.
entire life, I win.
You mean the fucking refs won you that game? Don't get me started with that bullshit.
Oh,
Wish you
What
would
are you
have
talking-
pass interference
if you wanna talk-
in the end zone. at the
if
fucking
you want
end.
to, if you want to get onto refs, I will show you every single offsides there was in the game that was not called once. The safety play that we had, he was clearly offsides. They showed every single penalty that was against us. They showed on the big screen, and you can see movement, and it was so frustrating.
You
to watch.
realize that movement doesn't mean it's offsides. They have to be in the neutral zone.
And they clearly were. They
We'll-
clearly
we'll
were.
we'll get to your guys'
Yeah.
game here in a second. I'm almost done with this one. Really, the main thing, Ohio State could not stop the run. Michigan didn't punt in the second half. Overall, the offense didn't look horrible for Ohio State. I just don't think they were given that many chances. 2 different times in the fourth quarter, Ohio State's offense answered with a touchdown, making it a 1-score game, and the defense could not get a stop. The wide receivers really showed out in this game for Ohio State and kept what little hope they had in this game alive, because at the point where they're down so much, the run game is taken away, and even with the defense knowing that the passes are coming, all 3 big play receivers made big plays to keep them in the game for what they could, but ultimately, the defense could not hold Michigan's offense, their rushing offense, and I think Kerry Coombs is going to be looking for a job here soon. Weather was a factor, I will say that. It's a good comment. Weather was the factor, but again, not being able to stop the run looked just like when it was sunny in 75 in the Oregon game. Ohio State doesn't deserve a chance at the playoff. I gotta say, they do have the #1 overall strength of schedule right now by PowerRankings.com. And both their losses are to 2 teams currently in the top 10. One being number 2, the other being number 10. So overall, I mean, take it as you will for the season, but it's kind of a wash for a season as an Ohio State fan, because when you're top 2 in recruiting every year, you should make the top 4 no matter what, no matter how young you are or how many freshmen you start. But they'll be back next year, and I can't wait to just see. I can't wait for this game next year, just because. Oh, geez, the bulletin board material and everything. We will get into it. Next game, Wake Forest versus Boston College. Wake covered the 6.5-point spread and actually blows the doors off this one. And I didn't know Wake had it in them, but they kept Boston College to 10 points. Did not think that Wake Forest defense would ever come out of the locker room this season, but they finally did in the last game. And Wake wins 41-10. Their offense has been good all year, though.
I think like you said, Wake's offense has been great. Their defense is lacked. They got exposed by Clemson, which was expected. But overall, Wake's been a pretty solid team with Sam Hartman back there. He was in QB1 Beyond the Lights, and whenever he announced he was going to Wake, I was like, why would he waste his talent there? And it turns out I was wrong, and you can obviously what he's done to that team and turned the program around.
Yeah, next up we got Houston and Yukon. Yukon's a basketball school, that's why they're 1-11.
When was the last time they've been to the tournament, though? Haven't been to the tournament in a while.
Okay, their women's pretty good.
Oh yeah.
If
Yeah, the women are the fucking best team.
and then
Like,
I will give Houston credit here. They did what you should do to a 1-11 team. They win 45-17. Yukon covered the 32-point spread. I forgot Yukon had a football team, to be honest, for a while. But
because they canceled last season
yeah,
or last year. Yeah.
I mean, even before that. I mean, have they ever been ranked in football?
I don't think
good
so.
no, but they're currently ranked #2 in girls basketball.
Yeah, so they're fine. They're just not a football school. But
Yeah, they like
Houston
what,
has a huge
Kentucky?
matchup. Houston has a big matchup this week with Cincinnati, so that should be a good game. But I still think Houston's underranked for this season they've had. But next up, we got Georgia and Georgia Tech. Georgia covered the 35.5-point spread by winning 45-0. Georgia Tech coming off a 55-0 loss with a 45-0 loss. Georgia Tech at 3-9. Not a great year out of them. Georgia, absolutely no sweat in this game.
Say this about that game. Did you guys see the stadium for that game?
No.
It was at Georgia Tech, and the entire stadium was red. The entire stadium was Georgia fans for the most part.
Damn.
There was not any Georgia Tech fans there.
That's
Don't blame
crazy.
them.
Now, I wish I could have had it in my game because I didn't see too much red. I mean, we were scattered here and there, but they put on the screen. So I mean, this is kind of impressive for them. I don't know how you feel about it, Bryce, but the 300th it was the 300th game in a row that they've had at least 100,000 fans in their stadium. And
What,
it's
Michigan?
yeah,
Oh wow.
and it's kind of interesting because they haven't been that great the past few years, to where I feel
They
like they
haven't.
would pack it like that.
Uh-huh.
It did
That is
break the
pretty.
attendance record, as everybody knows. The Big House is the biggest stadium in the country, and it was the official attendance for Saturday was 111,156 people, and I was one of them that got to witness the loss. So, like I said, if I were to fight there, though, I'd be severely outnumbered, I would say. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah, their stadium holds 106,000 and 111 was there. So that's pretty impressive.
yeah, they showed it on the board. It got a pretty big reaction, and it's weird to me because it doesn't. When you look at stadiums like their stadium, it doesn't seem like it would hold more than when I was watching the Iron Bowl or even your guys' game.
Yeah, I'm surprised that we only hold 55 at Boone Pickup Stadium. In Stillwater, there's only 50, I think it's almost 56,000.
Mm,
So that's the max. It's crazy to me because I don't understand how other stadiums fit more than that, but they do. But it was great. I'll get to that later. But
yeah,
it's
we'll
crazy
get
to
to
me
it.
how Michigan literally doubled the size of Stillwater, and I can't believe that either because it felt like that place was crazy. I felt like there was a million of people there. Like,
Right, right. Well, I wish there was nobody there Saturday at my game. So I guess we're on the flip side. But I'll get to you guys in a second. Next up, we'll stay in the Big 12. The Baylor escapes Texas Tech 27-24. Texas Tech covered the 14-point spread. This is kind of a weird game to me because Texas Tech has really struggled with the better teams in the Big 12, I would say. Uh, and and this was not the case in this one.
Gonna be
uh,
honest with you, Texas Tech choked this game.
you
I
Yeah,
got to
feel
give
like
that.
if this game goes into overtime, Texas Tech wins it.
Taylor was also playing with the backup quarterback who only his only ever he had to start this game because the starting quarterback was injured. He's never played college football before. So
Yeah, he did.
oh,
He played last week.
yeah, that was and he came in late after after Kansas State's quarterback or after he got injured in the Kansas State game. So
okay.
this was his first ever start and experience, and I don't think he was honestly ready for that.
I mean, to be
I'm
honest with
hoping
you, he didn't. To me, he didn't look that bad for a freshman.
he wasn't bad, but he definitely was not at Jerry Bohannon's level in their expectations. That's why I'm hoping he starts this weekend.
Yeah. So
Probably not.
next game, UTSA loses to North Texas 45-23. North Texas covers the 8.5, and and Bryce, this is one of those things I gotta say to you because I know you're a big believer in the undefeateds and all that. This is the reason that these teams don't get the respect that they do.
Yeah, I was
Exactly,
severely
games like
disappointed
this
in them. I was very disappointed in them. It was the last game of the season, and they
against
still have
six or against 5-6 North Texas.
yeah, it's very upsetting because UTSA was gonna do something special and they just choked. I mean, they
They'll still get a
absolutely.
decent bowl game. I don't think they'll get a horrible one.
Yeah,
Um,
but to have that record to be undefeated
yeah,
and for only being a program for 10 years, that's impressive.
yeah, they're
At
still
least
on
being
the
at least
rise,
there.
and they signed their coach to a 10-year extension, which
Yeah.
is good for them. But I mean, you're not as extreme as R.J. Young. R.J. Young was talking about putting UTSA in a playoff because they were
Well,
undefeated. Were
RJ
you
Young's a
also
little
on that?
special.
Yeah, I mean,
He's a little special.
if they lose by 22 to North Texas, what is a
Here's the
team
thing.
in the top 10 gonna do to them?
For UTSA to get into the playoff, everyone in the country would have to have at least 3 to 4 losses, and they would have to be undefeated. That's the only way I see it's fair. Them to
Yeah,
get in legitimately.
yeah. Well, anyway, we'll see what UTSA gets in their bowl game and go from there. Next up, we got Penn State and Michigan State. Michigan State wins 30-27. They were able to bounce back after debacle debacle that happened in Columbus the week before, and Penn State able to come back after the close loss to Michigan. Michigan State covers the 4.5 point spread. Penn State at 7-5. There are 5 losses. One was Illinois, not good. The other was Michigan. Okay. Other was Ohio State. Okay. The other was Michigan State. Okay. The other was Wisconsin. Okay. And they all were within 10 points.
That's pretty impressive for them. It's also really disappointing considering this year
they beat Wisconsin. I'm sorry. Their other one was Iowa, also within 10 points.
and I was in the Big Ten Championship, so Penn State really. I think this is one of their biggest letdown years because it seems like every year they have hype and they finally have hope and then they just choke it midway through the season.
They had all the chances to win big games this year. Like I said, they were in all of them. It's just, I really think ever since the Illinois loss, they just. I mean, if they could have won the 9 overtime game, like I think this would be a different story. But if you look at their other losses, and it really came off the rails. I thought they had Iowa beat with Clifford in the game, up 17-3. But Michigan State, I mean, I guess it's really good for Mel Tucker. I mean, this was a battle of the extensions, the coach extensions here. Michigan State's going to get a pretty good game. I mean, they're going to be number 11 right now in the rankings, and they escaped here with a 3-point win. They had a 10-2 season, which is pretty good out of Michigan State and Sparty after what they've had been for the 2 previous years, which has been a huge letdown to Sparty fans. But I don't know, Michigan State was a pretty good team this year, I think.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, to get a 10-win regular season win, that's impressive. Ole Miss, they'd never done that before until this year. Ole Miss this is their first year that they'd ever had 10 wins in the regular season.
That seems odd.
It is crazy to think about. And they've only had, I think it was 4 or 7. They've only had 4 other 10-win seasons. So, and those came in bowl games. They got those 10th win in bowl games. But,
so they're definitely gonna get a New Year's Six bowl then, right?
I'm sorry, do what?
They're definitely gonna get a New Year's Six bowl then, right?
Well, I would think so, yeah.
But the only thing is with how bowls and everything are this game, it would be really boring if Kenneth Walker does not play.
Is he gonna opt out?
That I don't know, but we will have to see. They need Michigan to lose to get a New Year's Six bowl. I feel like they're already in a good spot. If they're 11 and then the top 4 make the playoff, right? Well, actually, never mind, because Ohio State's ranked higher than them.
Ohio State would get the nod. They have the win ahead.
Yeah. Just realized my score's cut off all the way on the right side, which is annoying, but Oregon takes care of Oregon State. Oregon covered the 7.5-point spread. Oregon came back and looked good this week. Another 10-win season out of the Ducks. They've really been the pride of the Pac-12 for a while now, and it really showed. I mean, I like this Oregon team, and realistically, if Michigan wins and Oregon wins, we're going to get a rematch from the Week 2 game in the Rose Bowl. So, I mean, I don't know. That's kind of an interesting game. I mean, hopefully Olave and Wilson don't sit out, and I'm sure Thibodeau's going to sit out. But I mean, good win for Oregon to come back and beat, their rival Oregon State.
Yeah, especially with the season they've had, they've been kind of a letdown ever since the Ohio State win. They haven't done anything, and every single week you just everyone can see right through them. Everyone knows that they're not a good football team this year.
Oh wow. Okay, and speaking of teams that haven't looked like a good football team, Alabama wins the Iron Bowl, 24-22. Covers the 20.5-point spread, and they win in 4 overtimes against 6-6 Auburn without Bo Nix.
That was very depressing to. I was in the stadium. Everyone was in the stadium when that game was going on, and they announced it out loud. And they kept doing score updates, and everyone let out a huge letdown, like whenever they announced the final score, because everyone was wanting Auburn to win just because they're the underdogs. And I guess it also helps everyone else, Cincinnati, Oklahoma State, and those teams trying to get into the playoff, because there's no way with 2 losses that they're going to make it the playoff. So
and who really
it was really disappointing and a letdown.
Unless you're an Alabama fan, right?
Oh yeah,
I'm always down to see Bama lose.
I
Cloud, are
am
you
too.
here?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just making sure. I didn't make sure I didn't lose you. Did you watch any of this Iron Bowl?
Oh, that's the whole damn thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It
Auburn had this
was.
game won.
I mean, to be honest with you, I think at the end Auburn should have, like, when they scored the first time, I think they should have went for two, like towards the end of the game, rather than going for the field goal. Because I mean, if you look, their backup quarterback was fucked up. Like his ankle was fucked. And to me, going into overtime like that, kind of, yeah, they were at a disadvantage.
Hmm.
And they didn't have Bell Nix, or no, wrong game,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. I had a lot of hope in Auburn and Bo Nix at the beginning of the year. I projected them to be the third best team in the SEC, and they finished at 6-6. It's just not great. Next up, we got Wisconsin and Minnesota. Minnesota upsets Wisconsin and covered the 7-point spread to win the Battle of Paul Bunyan's axe. Uh,
I was very. I was not expecting this at all. I really thought
Minnesota has
Wisconsin.
been, I think, the weirdest team in college football this year because they have a loss to Bowling Green on their schedule, but their other losses are to Ohio State. I want to say their other losses aren't to like horrible teams, but then again they
They
were barely scraping by wins, and then they out of nowhere beat Wisconsin in their rivalry game. I mean, this was at Minnesota, but I mean the loss to Bowling Green's like kind of puzzling, like a head scratcher, but besides that, they won and sent Iowa to the to the Big Ten championship with it. So I'm sure the Hawkeye fans loved it. But Wisconsin was one of
Minnesota.
the hottest teams in football going into this game.
Yeah, Wisconsin was on a. We were on a what, a 7-8 game winning streak ever since starting the season 1-3. So
Yeah, they were
Wisconsin
on a
was the
seven.
favorite to go into the championship.
Yeah.
And
Overall, I don't think
Minnesota.
Wisconsin was a horrible team this year. They had a great
No,
defense, but
neither was Minnesota. The Big Ten in general was all they were all average. I can say that, like better than average. I'll say that for compared to everyone else in the country. I mean, not a single team from the Pac or the ACC we could compete with them. So, if you were to compare that conference compared to either one, and even the SEC, I mean, the middle-range SEC teams, I don't think would beat most of
they
the
didn't. I mean,
Big
look,
Ten teams.
you got the middle-ranked Penn State, and they have a win against Auburn this year.
Yep.
I mean, top to bottom, I'll still see use the same argument because I want to say out of conference games matter more than bowl games when it's comparing teams, just for the simple fact that like people sit out now with the playoff and the combine and everything, so you don't really know if you're getting a full strength. Besides a couple bowls where like earlier this year Iowa beats Iowa State out of conference, right? Michigan beats Washington. Penn State beats Auburn. Michigan State beat Miami. Um, I mean, top to bottom, there's more. Maryland beat West Virginia. Um, do you know what I mean? Like top to bottom,
Huh.
Rutgers beat Syracuse. Like the Big Ten did a great job in their out of conference this year, head to head against other conferences. The only big loss they had was Ohio State losing to Oregon.
In that game, looking at that game, I don't understand how Oregon won. I really don't. I didn't. I watched very little of that game. I don't understand how they beat them considering the
Well,
season that
I
was so
say
bad.
the run defense was an issue, but one of the other things is we didn't know what we had with Travion Henderson yet. He didn't even play like very
Let me
many
ask you,
snaps.
were you at that game, Parker?
I was not. No, my brother and
Okay.
his friend were at that game, but I actually had a golf outing, so I was watching it. But geez, and there was a
Who
couple
the
of things.
fuck golfs?
Hey, golf is fun.
Yeah, it is a good
What?
sport. State of Oklahoma dominates.
Y'all need some fucking help.
Golf's fun.
I golfed once and never went back.
Golf's hard, but um, but no, I did watch. I watched every game.
How the fuck do you have time to watch every game? What do you have, 10 TVs?
No. I watched every Ohio State game. Is what I was saying.
Oh, I was about to say, there's no chance you watched every game this weekend.
Yeah, no. And with being stuck in Michigan, it was Saturday was one of the worst days, most frustrating
It's
days
funny.
I've
That was
ever
probably
had.
the worst. That was probably one of the best days of my life.
Which is
Not
weird. You didn't
even for
have to
this.
deal
Not
with
even.
6 inches of
I know.
snow and ice on
Yeah,
road
that's
and
crazy.
stuck a state away after your team lost,
Okay,
surrounded
I deal with
by
that shit daily except for the stuckest state away.
oh, jeez. Anyway, moving on to the next game. Texas A&M loses to LSU 27-24 in Coach O's last game, and well, I mean, if you want to say that, they are bowl eligible now. It's 6-6. They covered the 6.5 point spread. I picked this game last week. I picked LSU to win.
Why? What made you choose LSU?
More of I don't believe in A&M. I mean,
Oh.
A&M's whole season, everybody thinks that they're so good just because they beat Bama once. I don't think it's fair to judge a team off one when they play 12. And LSU is not that good. But A&M also is pretty decent, but like they're not great or good by any means to where they could go to Death Valley and for sure come away with a win. I mean, it wasn't super confident, but I took LSU for my upset pick, and it happened. And I mean, yeah, their quarterback is not very good. They just got Brian Kelly. I wonder if Rattler will go here. I think that's one of the teams on his radar is LSU. So we will see
Honestly, just
there.
get Rattler the fuck out of Oklahoma and I'll be happy.
But
Yeah, he was on that QB1 show too, and
Oh
I haven't
yeah.
liked him since that show. Ever since
No,
that
I
show came
haven't
out, I
liked
just
him
have not
ever
been a
since he's.
fan.
I honestly I haven't even watched that shit, but I never liked him when he got to Oklahoma. He was just always the cocky,
He's a yeah, and he
like
was
the
exactly
cocky,
that way
like
in the
I'm
show.
better than everyone type of shit. He hadn't even
Exactly.
done shit in college yet.
Oh yeah, that's exactly how he is.
so here's the thing about Texas A&M for me though. I think they're going to get a favorable matchup, being a team of 4 losses in their bowl game, and they're more than likely going to win. But whatever. Clemson starting to turn the corner, huh? They beat South Carolina and cover the 11.5 point spread. South Carolina's bowl eligible at 6-6 this year, but Clemson 9-3. They seem to have turned a corner. Looked a little bit better towards the end of the
Yeah,
year,
they started to figure stuff out fast. They made a quarterback change. DJ's not playing anymore.
which is
He's
so
not playing
weird.
anymore, right?
Both of, I
Because I
mean,
thought,
I think he's not. But isn't it so weird to say that DJ and Rattler, the two favorites to win the Heisman going into the year, both aren't playing? Because they
that's
because of
funny.
bench because they're benched, not because they're hurt.
It's funny because DJ was on that show too.
This is
Unironically, he
Wait,
was a
really?
backup. Yeah, he was a backup for he was the backup for one of the main quarterbacks on the show. So like he was on the same team as the teammate's quarterback, and he couldn't. He ended up sucking. So DJ came in. He became the new star of the show.
Wow.
He played at St. John Bosco.
oh, okay, yeah, okay. That's one of the powerhouse football schools.
Did you hear about the rumors about him though?
About DJ?
What?
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
That if Brent comes to Oklahoma, DJ's probably gonna come
Oh,
with him.
I've seen that. Yeah, no, I've seen that,
Hmm.
and that would make
We'll have to
perfect sense.
follow those news. But next up,
So
we got Pitt and Syracuse. Pitt covers the 11.5 point spread and wins 31-14. Syracuse is a basketball school. Kenny Pickett and Pitt win here, and they also had a good season for Pitt too, finishing 10-2. So
yeah, you guys know who Sean Tucker is?
Nope.
yes,
He was
running back
calling
for
out his
Syracuse, right?
yes, he was calling out his offensive coordinator for some plays at the end of the game because he said they were questionable and he would have done things differently. So I think that's kind of interesting that they have
Sean
strife
Tucker's
on
one of
that
the best
team,
running backs in the country.
especially yes.
He's a top 10 running back in the country. When I made my top 10 running back list, he is on there. Next up, let you guys talk. It was a push on the 4 point spread. Bedlam. Oklahoma State beats Oklahoma 37-33.
Can I
Hashtag
say
fuck
something?
Lincoln Riley, get his ass out
Can
of
I
Oklahoma.
can I say something real quick too? It is astounding to me that Vegas predicts these games. What are the odds this game ends in 4 points?
Yeah.
I mean, there's after the safety, I was like, oh well, there goes the spread, and then they scored the touchdown. I was like, well, bye bye. And somehow the game ended in exactly the 4 point spread. I don't know how Vegas does it, but that is just crazy to
Vegas
me.
is rigged as fuck.
Yeah, they know. There's something Vegas knows.
Yeah, they just
I
know,
don't know
bro.
how.
If you haven't, I mean, they're usually not off too bad. Oh yeah. Also on the show last week, I can't bet because I'm in Ohio and it's legal to bet here. But I talked and I said if you're gonna bet, make one bet this week that you'll hit on. It's Auburn covering the 20.5 point spread against Alabama, and they won by 2. That was something I would have put a lot of money on because I don't think there's any way Alabama going to Auburn would have won by over 20 points. And then
Mhm.
this game was a push with 4. I was very surprised that the over/under on this game was 49.5. Like I felt like that
Well,
was low.
I really thought it would be under too, just
Really?
because of how both teams have been playing. I mean, there's no way in my mind I thought we would have scored 37. I thought it was going to be like more of like a 17-13 type game. Like I really thought that.
Same. I didn't think it was gonna be a high scoring game,
Right.
to be
Because
honest.
defenses this year have been so dominant in the Big 12. I mean, haven't really had offenses come out and do things.
Man,
They've been
switch the
doing it
screen
past.
on us while we're talking about this game. What's
I
up with
didn't
that?
mean to. I
Hater.
didn't mean to hit it. My keyboard's already laying down next to me.
Parker's just hating on us.
No. Go ahead.
Nah, I mean,
Yes.
this game, I'll be honest with you, I'm honestly glad Oklahoma State won.
Yeah, too.
Because, I mean, if you look at how Oklahoma's played this whole year, I hate to say it, but we have not played up to Oklahoma football standards. And I think partially the reason is, as we all know now, Lincoln Riley's the fuck out of town. And I just don't think this year he was very focused like he was last year. I mean, I saw something on Twitter that, I don't know if it's true or not, but he kept asking the coaches, like, for help on, like, what plays to run and shit. And he's never done that before.
Yeah, I also saw something about like he said this is gonna be the new mecca of college football at USC, and then one of the Oklahoma players retweeted it and
Isaiah
said he told
Thomas.
us that
Yeah.
last week.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, let him go to the dumpster fire of USC.
Thing is, I talked to Ryan, who's usually on the show, and he's an Oregon fan, and he's just like, nice. Now everybody's got to come to the Pac-12 and ruin what we have here because as an Oregon fan, he doesn't have too many threats over there.
I mean, I don't know. I just hope Oklahoma goes out and gets, like, a coach that, that can recruit, but
What do you
also
guys-
isn't,
what do you guys think about-
scared to get an offensive coordinator.
What do you think about Stoops being the interim for the bowl game?
I love it. I love
I
the
mean,
opportunity.
honestly, I like it because,
Great.
I mean, Stoops, like, I don't know if you saw the conference that Oklahoma had, but Stoops threw some shade at Lincoln Riley, like, silently.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like, so,
Yeah.
he
It was
said,
crazy.
like, he said no one is bigger than Oklahoma football. No one here is bigger than the players. The players make Oklahoma football. And he said no matter who the coach is, no matter if it was an old-time coach, him, or Lincoln Riley, the players still make Oklahoma football. The coaches don't.
Right. I like
And
that.
so,
I
I
saw
know.
people saying it was him trying to get his way back into the coaching spot for next year.
Honestly, I don't think he'll come back. I think he's happy with doing the media shit.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly hope we get Brent Venables from Clemson,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll see how it plays. But all I gotta say is fuck Lincoln Riley.
I
am
figured it was
getting-
gonna be like that.
Here, I'm gonna send you the jacket. I
Man,
want you
can
to
I
show
can I
this shit
can I
on
say something real
stream,
quick? Yeah,
Are you gonna send it on Cord?
Twitter, or X and on Cord if you want.
Yeah, send it on Cord.
let me say something real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Parker, I want your opinion on this.
Okay.
Do you think what Lincoln Riley did to OU is the same as what OU and Texas Big 12?
I mean, yeah, I would say about the same. I mean,
It's just ironic to me that all OU
Let me
fans are
know
saying
if
it's
it's
just
recording.
business for them leaving to the SEC in the middle of the night, coming out of nowhere. It was a rumor that Texas A&M had to leak for that to come out. It's not like they came out on their own. It was a rumor that had to be leaked, and then once they got caught, eventually they came out.
I
Compared
don't
to-
get why Oklahoma. I mean, Texas. They make no sense.
Texas makes out of every college football program, Texas makes the most money. They have the most money. That is
no,
the
no.
only
What I
reason
was
why.
gonna say is I don't understand their want to go to the SEC when they have a
It's all
better
money.
chance of dominating the Big 12 and making the playoff than
It's
going
More
through a
money.
gauntlet with the
They're money
SEC.
hungry.
it's money. Same thing with Nebraska. Why would Nebraska want to leave the Big 12 for the Big 10? I mean, if financially they've
Yeah, the traitor
great for them.
hoodie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm ordering that shit, bro.
I saw they put a bunch of
Uh,
traitor stuff all over.
oh yeah, they
All
put
the
a
yeah, I
trader
drove right
sign over
past
the
that.
Oklahoma outside the Oklahoma
Yeah,
Stadium.
I drove right past that earlier today. It's funny.
Well, next up we'll move on to the Heisman hopefuls. I mean, I don't think there was too much change. I put Aiden Hutchinson at 5 because he's having a pretty good year and he's like on pace for to break some Big Ten record if he gets over 5 sacks Saturday, which is like a huge deal. But I put the comparison between QB A and QB B, and Stroud still outplayed Bryce Young this weekend.
Oh yeah, and considering it was rivalry weekend, both of them had away games, so it's not like they had the home field advantage. Except the difference was C.J. Stroud was playing a top 5 opponent compared to Bama was playing 6-6 Auburn. So
Yeah, and he still outplayed him. He had more completions on less attempts, more yards, and he didn't turn the ball over.
and it's also way easier to do that when you have 3 of the best wide receivers in the country on your
Hey,
team.
don't act like Alabama has some slouches at
Oh,
receiver. He's throwing to
oh,
nobodies.
What do you mean the
nah.
Alabama quarterback didn't have their number one receiver?
Yeah, he was number 4 on the depth chart at Ohio State, and he went to Alabama, and he's their best receiver. What's that gonna say?
He wasn't playing.
I know. I'm saying Mechie's still good though. A lot of teams would love to have Mechie.
I don't know who the fuck match he is. To be honest with you, I didn't pay
Bryce,
attention
you
to the
know who
names.
Mechie is, right?
I know.
Okay then. Well, uh, we'll move on from this. And I got some questions from social media here. I think. Do you think Michigan will beat Ohio State next year? This actually comes from my grandpa. I don't think so. I think that there's the bulletin board material uh, came in for it, and I mean, just the chances of it happening aren't really looking great, considering that it's a 1 in 10 thing once a decade right now, and Ohio State was super young, so I'm gonna go with no. What do you guys think? Do you think Michigan will beat Ohio State next year?
No,
No.
absolutely not.
What was that, Cloud? I couldn't hear you.
No.
No. Okay. Next up, we got a question here from Jake Richter. Should coaching hirings take place during the football season or be forced to be strictly off season? I think this is kind of
I
interesting
think
question.
no, I think it should definitely be off season because the Oklahoma State's defense coordinator Jim Knowles is being targeted by literally everyone right now, and it is scary to think about because the fact that we could lose him before arguably one of the biggest games of our year this year, the Big 12 Championship, is mind-boggling to me because we're not going to sign him until after the season is over. So if other teams come in with a higher contract right now and he takes it, that will be very upsetting. Same thing with the transfer portal. I don't think. Uh, I think all this needs to be done in the off season. There's no reason why coaches should be moving to different places during mid-season. It just shouldn't
I,
happen.
I agree. And then if you look at the Notre Dame situation, it could
Yeah,
wait.
Notre Dame,
It could
Notre
easily
Dame got
wait.
screwed.
This is the second time Brian Kelly's done this. He did it to
Like,
Cincinnati to leave for Notre Dame, and now he's
what
doing
was
it
the
again.
rush? Really, what
Yeah.
is the rush? When you have a chance to possibly go to the playoffs, what is the point of going to another team that you're not going to be able to even play that you can't play for? I mean, it
So
doesn't
I
make any
get he
sense.
wants to go to the SEC to coach and get a good program, and he made a lot
Why
of
couldn't
money
that
off of
wait?
it.
Why couldn't it wait? Literally,
Exactly.
yeah.
Why couldn't this wait the day after the season ended? Say it, let it come out the night of the national championship if you want, if your team's not in it.
Or even announcing that you'd be the head coach but still playing, like Steve Sarkisian did last year in the national championship for Bama. He announced way before that game that he was going to Texas, but he still coached that national championship game. I mean, he was still there.
Yeah.
So
So
I don't understand why
I
people
don't,
don't wait.
I don't either. And I think this was a good question too, to be forced strictly off season. I think it should be. Next up, I got some questions to ask you guys here, and you guys just tell me the the whole topic here is good moves or not, notable changes in college football. So I'm gonna ask you, give you a one-liner, and you guys tell me if it's a good move or not. Okay?
Yeah.
Got Brian Kelly leaves Notre Dame in the dust and accepts the coaching job at LSU.
No.
That's a good move for him. I'll say that.
Well, to me, Notre
Can't
Dame
argue with
has
that.
been what, a top 6 program
Yeah,
the last few
they've
years,
had
and LSU
they've had
outside of the
consistent.
2019 super season, I think he has a better chance to make the playoff right away if he stayed at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Notre Dame in the here I'm pulling it up now. History.
Okay, and also
Notre
Brian Kelly is
Dame
trying
has
to
won.
convince Marcus
Let's go.
Freeman.
Notre Dame has since 2017. These are the seasons. He went 10-3, 12-1, 11-2, 10-2, and 11-1, including this year. So the past 5 years for Notre Dame football has been excellent. So I don't really see, reasoning for to leave up and like the way he did.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, he's trying to convince Marcus Freeman to come down there and be the defensive coordinator with him from Marcus Freeman, originally defensive coordinator at Cincinnati last year, now this year at Notre Dame, and he's trying to get him to go with him to LSU. But overall, I'm not really super shocked by this. LSU wasn't going to go out and get a no-name coach. Am I a little shocked it's Brian Kelly? A little bit, because I didn't think he was going to leave Notre Dame, but yeah, I'll stay with that.
You see his contract though? What it was
Yeah.
considering to be?
95
It
million.
was like some. That was more. He's what was it 10 year for 15 million?
Yeah, like
15 million for 10 years. So whatever that comes out to be. 150 million, is that what it is? Holy
That's
crap.
crazy. And then you got Lincoln Riley takes a job at USC and leaves Oklahoma. I know how you guys feel about this.
Yes.
I think
I don't
again
think
it's
that
a good move for him.
I mean,
I think the way he did it was trash, but
I
screw
think
it.
I
They're all
think it's
Sooners,
more of
so
well, I think it's more like this. I get this is only a money grab here to me, and it's the reason is I don't think USC is anywhere close to what Oklahoma is right now.
but it will be. Let me ask you this. All the recruits that he was getting was from California, it's from that side. If USC is a top team, they control that entire half of the country because they will get recruits from that entire side of the country. They won't have to travel elsewhere. Compared to OU, they can't just stay in Oklahoma. They have to go to Texas, California, Florida. They have to travel far to get their recruits.
I guess the benefits that he's a younger guy, because that's going to take time. Like, don't expect USC to be in the playoff in the next few years.
No, but it will be good. It'll be good for the sport too, having USC up there.
I don't see him being at USC longer than 5 years.
Oh, right. Wow,
To be honest.
take. That's a bold take.
I think that's right. Whenever he'll be hitting his prime in that 5 year mark.
So here we'll move on to some Big Ten news. James Franklin signs 10-year extension with Penn State. Good move, bad move.
Bad move.
Bad move.
I don't know much about him, so I can't really say.
I know that other Ryan doesn't really.
I
like
don't
this
think
move.
I don't think it's a bad move for James Franklin. I think it's a bad move for Penn State because he knows all he has to do now is he can do. He doesn't have to put 100% focus into it. He could literally care less about the program now. He could lose as much as he wants.
This is how I kind of felt about it, because there was a lot of talk about him going to the LSU job or him going to the USC job and getting it. But I think that he signs this 10-year extension as almost like a grasp for straws at where he's at, because I think he was starting to fall off the radar. And Penn State is a top program. Like, I wouldn't say they're a top 5 or program, maybe not even top 10, but he'll be able to play big games year in and year out. And I almost think if he wasn't going to go here, there wouldn't be a better job open for him, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I agree. You're right.
So, and then next stuff goes right along with it. Mel Tucker matches Franklin's deal with 10-year extension with Michigan State. I think this is very premature to sign these coaches.
I think you're right again. Yeah, Michigan, it's bad for the school.
Yeah, he has had one good turnaround year with them, and then he beat Michigan, then got blown out by Ohio State. But Mel Tucker has been good this year, but has anybody really been sold that Michigan State was great this year? Because I don't really think that they were great or really a scare for a top team
I
this
don't
whole
know.
year with how bad their pass defense, specifically the secondary, was. Um, I think this is very premature to do this and sign him to 10 years after one good season. I
No,
don't know.
I completely agree because it'll hurt the university more. If he starts playing bad and they have to fire him, first of all, they're gonna have to pay that contract out anyway. So Mel Tucker's getting fired. He's getting paid for doing nothing. Then they're gonna have to hire somebody else, which is gonna cost more money if they do have to fire him. So it's just overall not good. I think signing coaches long term like that really doesn't help the school. I think 3 to 5 years is fair because if they do good, you can always resign them.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with resigning.
These 10-year massive deals, like these are contracts you offer Dabo Sweeney and Nick Saban.
Yeah.
Not really Mel Tucker one great year and James Franklin, who's been pretty decently good, but he hasn't been great in years. So next up we got Bill Napier takes the job at Florida. I think good move or not, I would say this is a good move, the Louisiana Raging Cajuns head coach, but here's the deal. Florida is not a great job to go take over right now. I would say. I mean, they're in a
I think
coaching
you have to have the
carousel
right
where
coach.
every few what?
I think you have to have the right coach
Okay.
in there to take that because here's why. Dan Mullen, he came from Mississippi State before, and Mississippi
Mhm.
State doesn't get the best recruits. He
Yeah.
built them up. That's back whenever the had that year the Mississippi State was number one and Ole Miss
Dak
was like 2 or
Prescott.
3.
Yeah.
So and he built it up. He wasn't at Florida. He wasn't using the recruits that he could have taken. He still tried recruiting 2, 3, 4 star players when he could easily get those 4 and 5 star players without a problem if he really wanted to. And he didn't take that to his advantage. He didn't take the Florida culture into the advantage.
Yeah.
And I think that's where he went wrong. He needs to be at a team um like Baylor, a Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, um,
Yeah.
Washington, a school like that where they don't get big recruits but can build it into something.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I heard some talk about Dan Mullen potentially going to a couple teams in the Big Ten. Actually, I mean, I saw that there was talk about him going to maybe like a Purdue or Indiana, which I mean, I think that would almost fit him well. But I mean, ultimately, Bill Napier's been super good with Louisiana. The only thing is Florida is a hostile place to go because if you look at their turnaround, they go through coaches fast. If you don't succeed, and they turn around and let you go. So I mean, we'll have to see. I mean, I think it's a good move. Next up, what do you guys think? Good move or not? Spencer Rattler announces he will be joining the transfer portal.
I think it's a great move for him because OU fans obviously we can tell doesn't like him. I don't think really anybody else likes him or his attitude. So I honestly wouldn't be surprised. Oh, I take it back now. I was gonna say if he transferred with to USC with Lincoln Riley, I wouldn't be surprised at that at all because Lincoln Riley's quarterback is his 5 star recruit that committed today to USC.
Yeah.
Yeah, he won't be in for another year now.
Well, here's the thing for me.
Start his
I don't
freshman
think
year
he
either.
goes to USC.
I don't think Rattler
Oh.
goes to
I'll tell you
USC
why.
because I don't
After
think
the
he
bowl
goes to the
game,
coach that benched him.
not even that. After the bowl game, Caleb Williams will announce he's entering the transfer portal and he will transfer to USC. And Lincoln Riley will start him over Spencer Rattler.
Wow. Well, that's a
think
bomb
he
if it's real. I hope. I mean, that'd be interesting. Then what's OU
I
gonna do?
mean,
OU will be nothing.
Jeez.
so here, let's go to Caleb Williams' Twitter.
Caleb Williams, if he does not win the Heisman while in his time in college, I just don't get that. He was by far, when I seen him live in person, that was crazy. The amount of times when he just escaped pressure and got out of sacks, tackles, and being tackled behind the line of scrimmage to me, I just couldn't believe it. Then he somehow had that 50-yard run at the end of the game where everyone's heart stopped. Holy crap. I don't know
Okay,
how he did
so
it.
this was his tweet when the shit about Lincoln Riley came up. I appreciate all the concerns about the situation, but I'm also happy for Coach Riley, Mom Riley, Salona, and Stella. for the huge opportunity ahead. That's all I plan to say right now. To me, that last sentence means after the bowl game, he's gonna announce he's entering the transfer
I mean,
portal.
that's kind of interesting that he did word. That's all I have to say right now, as if he has more
Yeah.
to say.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see. I mean, for Rattler, what are some real likely places for him to go? I mean, I could almost see him going to LSU as
See
one.
him
I could see
See
going
him.
him to UCLA as well. There's been a
I see
lot
him
of talk
going
about
to
him being
Arizona State. Going back home.
Okay. Because I
To
don't
be
think
honest.
he's necessarily done. I also think DJ is going to enter the transfer portal more than likely.
How crazy would it be if they just did a swap? If DJ came to Norman and Spencer Rattler went to Clemson.
uh, that would be crazy, but I don't think
Clemson
it
would want
happens.
them.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
I don't think Dabo is gonna be like, nah. um, if you guys want something that I mean, I think that Quinn Ewers is gonna transfer because I think Stroud's gonna have the starting spot and he's not gonna want to sit. I don't know if that's a bold prediction or not. So next up we got good move or not. Last one. Jim Harbaugh claims Ryan Day started on third base and thinks he hit a triple, which means
You're
he's.
pretty upset about that.
I mean, I think it's really just jealousy. I mean, Harbaugh's 1-5 in the game. Ryan Day's 1-1. Whatever, not great. Average. Better than 1-5. Ryan Day just lost his first Big Ten game ever. It's 28-1. Harbaugh has 23 losses since he's been at Michigan. Ryan Day in 2 seasons made 2 playoffs, had 2 college football playoff appearances. Harbaugh has none. Ryan Day in 2 seasons has 1 national championship appearance. Harbaugh has none. In 2 seasons, Ryan Day won the Big Ten. Harbaugh in 6 seasons so far has not done it once and is going to the Big Ten championship for the first time. I mean, here's the thing that people say. Well, Ryan Day was handed Ohio State. Okay, that's a good point. Like, he's handed one of the best schools in the country for recruiting and all that. Ryan Day was the offensive coordinator before he took over as head coach, which means a lot of these, he recruited these wide receivers and all that. That's his recruiting. And knock it if you want, but or even say, well, he's still handed better than Jim Harbaugh. Here's the thing: people are like, Ryan Day got handed a Ferrari. What did Jim Harbaugh get? He still got Michigan. He didn't get Rutgers. You know what I mean? He didn't get a horrible school to recruit from. He got a top 5 program historically to recruit from. He didn't get something like that where he should, when his team is favored during a year. 2 years ago, Michigan favored their number 4 in the country, and they give up 62 points. That's not because Ryan Day started on third base and thinks he hit a triple.
No, I almost think it's hypocritical because it's not like Michigan's a knock of a school either. I mean, Michigan, like you said, still gets great recruits, just like Ohio State.
Look,
I don't
that's what I
know.
mean. It's not like he's being handed Vanderbilt and be like, all right, now you got to go play Alabama, and we expect you to win. Like, that's not how it is. I don't know. I mean, do you
Yeah,
think this is a good move or not? Him saying this.
um, I mean, I just think it's hypocritical of him. I get the trash talk and finally winning. I get that, but it's a little hypocritical if you ask me.
Yeah, I think this is a bad move because he just gave Bolton material when he has to come to the shoe next year. I don't know. I mean, I think it's a bad move for him, but we'll have to see if it's a bad move. Next up, I think we can just do our quick conference championship predictions for week 14. Somehow I'm 72 and 52, and Bryce, you got the 73 and 52. I guess there are no
I
forget.
know.
So I
Can't
mean,
believe I made the comeback.
don't know how that even happened.
Ever since the first pod, I've been really trying and grinding this out, and I finally rose to the top.
Yeah, we're right there. The thing that people have to realize, like 72 and 52, like that's not that great. 73 and 52 is not that great. The pick'em app does not give you easy games to pick. Every game is hard.
And you only have 10 games, so like you get one wrong, you're down to 90. You get 3 wrong, you're only down to 7. So like you're not getting a lot of. It's not like the NFL where you're getting a ton of picks.
Yeah, the
to choose
NFL
from.
you get every game. College, you
But
don't
yeah,
get
you get every
the
game.
you
Yeah,
don't
that's
get
it.
the obvious games. Like you don't get when Alabama plays New Mexico State. That's not on there to pick. Like you only get games that are ranked matchups or rivalry matchups usually every week.
Yeah, and that's pretty. It's pretty hard to pick from who you think's gonna win.
Yeah, and both of us are in the top like 8% and pick them with our records because of how hard it is.
What the
That's
So
fuck's
pretty
pick 'em?
it's a ESPN app where you pick the games, college football and NFL. Um,
Wow, no one told me this shit, bro. That's fucked up.
you
I
in
say it
it.
in my podcast every week.
Bro, I don't. Bro, I've been fucking sick the past like 2 weeks.
It's all right. It's all right. We'll go ahead and start doing the conference championship picks then, real quick. We got the Pac-12 championship starting us off on Friday. Oregon and Utah. Number 10 Oregon, 17 Utah. Or Utah opens up as only 3-point favorites. I do think that this game will be closer than the previous. I think Oregon gets revenge here. I'm actually picking Oregon to win.
I don't think Oregon will win. I think
Okay.
Utah will kick their butt again,
Like
regardless of it being at a
dominate
neutral.
them.
Not as nearly as bad as they did the first time, but I do think it'll be. They'll probably win by 10 points. I'll say at least 10. So who knows?
Cloud, what you got?
I could
I
be
got
completely wrong
fucking
about that.
Oregon, bro. I think Oregon gets their revenge and
I do too. That's what I was thinking.
puts a
I
little
think they're
puts a little
playing really
smackdown on
like
Utah
them.
this time.
Yeah, that. I mean, I don't think they put a smackdown on, but I think that they definitely keep it competitive and win. They're, like we said, Vegas knows, and they're favored by 3.
Fuck Vegas. That's where the strippers are.
There you go. Next up, Utah State, San Diego State in the Mountain West Championship. San Diego State 6-point favorites. I mean, I don't know too much about Utah State. I mean, they're 9-3, but San Diego State's kind of been a team that's squeaking by, and I pick against them every week. So let's see if it comes back and bites me, and I'm gonna take San Diego State.
I want to pick it with you as well, but I think I'll go for the upset and go ahead and pick Utah State to win this game.
Okay.
You know what they tell us? Always go the opposite of your opponent. So I gotta go San Diego State.
There, there you go. Now let's head to the Sun Belt Championship where Appalachian State's taking on Louisiana, and App State, 10-2, unranked, is actually the 3-point favorite over Louisiana, who's now number 24 and 11-1. I think it has a lot to do with their coach being gone.
Damn, plugged in your iPhone, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
And Appalachian
Okay,
State
about the
they beat Lafayette early in the season. That's their only loss. No, it's
Yeah.
not. I'm wrong about that. I'm
I
wrong
don't
about
think
that.
you're wrong.
Lafayette lost to Texas, so I guess Lafayette did beat Appalachian State. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and I think they beat them again.
Yeah, I agree. I think they.
I think UL wins, whoever the fuck that is.
There you go.
I don't know who the fuck UL is.
Big 12 championship then. Baylor and Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State 5.5-point spread. I remember this game a few weeks ago. It was probably about 2 months ago now. I picked Baylor to win that game because I was very high on Baylor. After this past week, Baylor didn't really sell me as much, but Oklahoma State favored by 5.5. This should be a good game.
I actually bought tickets yesterday to this game, so I'm gonna be heading down there to go watch it live.
There you
And
go.
I'm undefeated in every single Oklahoma State sporting event I've been to. I've been to 2 Bedlam games, and I've won both of them. Free, and I'm excited about that. And I'm hoping I can get the dub here in the championship game because I spent a ton of money for this, and I'm looking forward to it. I do think we'll win. I think it'll be way closer than it was last time because last time we just physically dominated Baylor. I mean, the score was a lot closer than it indicated. But I do think we'll win. I think we'll win probably by a touchdown. But I think we do secure the dub, and we should go to the playoff after it.
Yeah, I think Oklahoma State wins. I'm assuming you're gonna take Baylor, Cloud.
As much as I hate to say this, I
Yeah.
think Oklahoma State wins.
Oh, I enjoy here.
I wonder if I'm gonna be wrong.
As much as I hate to say it, I just think after how Baylor played against Texas Tech last week, I don't see them winning. I mean, I think it's gonna be a close game, but I just don't see Baylor being able to beat Oklahoma State.
Gotcha.
Sadly.
Next up, we got Houston and Cincinnati playing in the American Athletic Conference Championship. Cincinnati favored by 10.5. I'm taking Cincinnati to win and cover for the simple fact that this is a home game for them. It's at Nipper in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I as much as I want to pick Houston to win the game, I just think Cincinnati will come out and destroy him. I'll just say it. I think they'll destroy him. Even
Cincinnati
though,
is a weird team because they're a team that a lot of people that I've seen when the broad analysts say it, they play up to their opponents. Actually, like they'll stumble here and there, but all of their big games they've come to play.
I
I
think
think I think it happens
I think
again.
Houston wins
Oh wow.
by a touchdown. To be
let me
honest
ask
Okay.
you
with you.
guys. Let me ask you guys something real quick. If Houston would have beat Texas Tech at the very opening season and they would
Oh
be
wow.
12-0, would they be in the same position as Cincinnati right now?
No,
I
be-
do
because they
not
don't
think
have
So
the
why
so.
win over
not?
Notre Dame.
Okay, then yeah, I guess. Yes, that's fair. Where do you think they're ranked at, though? Do you think they're in the top 10?
No, I think they're probably 10 to 15.
Okay, that's fair then.
Hey, come here. All right, guys, we got ACC championship. We got Pitt and Wake. Hey, baby.
I think I'm gonna go ahead and pick Pitt in this game. I do like Wake, I really do, but I think Pitt's defense is a little bit better than Wake's defense is. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick Pitt to win the game out here. 'Cause both their offenses are about the same, in my opinion.
Both really good. I mean, I wonder what the over. I'm about to check the over under in this game because it's got to be something
3.
ridiculous, right? What is it? Oh no, the over under.
Wake.
It's there it is. It's right there. 72 and a half.
What the fuck?
I told you their offenses.
Like that, and I might take the over.
Oh yeah, it's
Yo,
right. It's right. It's on your screen, you
yeah, I
doofus.
know. I was like, what was I even looking at? Michigan and Iowa. We'll get to that in a second, but that's 43 and a half. They're not really expecting a ton of scoring in that game, but Pitt and Wake. I'm gonna take Pitt. I mean, I just don't. I haven't been that high on Wake. I think they were kind of really surviving on a weak schedule there for a while, and that's why they were undefeated. But Pitt's favored by 3. I think they win by about that, and I think it's a high-scoring game. Watch this; will be a 6-3 game now Saturday.
They say Pitt wins by a touchdown.
Yeah, I think Pickett shows out in this game. Didn't they did they play already?
Pitt and Wake. I don't think so.
No, they did not.
It's interesting. They have a lot of
But
common
they,
opponents.
I'm gonna say they both played NC State, I believe.
That they both play Clemson too.
Yeah,
Um,
Pitt won by 10.
Yeah, and then Clemson beat Wake. So the last game we got here is the 8 o'clock game. There's only one game at 8 o'clock on Saturday.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Is
Oh,
it
wait,
the
no. Pitt and Wake too. ACC and Big Ten. They
Oh,
put the SEC slot at 4. The Big 12's at noon for me.
I hate that. Well, the reason why I hate that is because it's noon for you, but it's always 11 here. It's always
Right.
Tommy,
closer.
a
Like,
fucking river.
oh yeah, you're.
You remember when the fucking Oklahoma State games were fucking noon or 11, bro? Yeah, fuck that.
Well,
Or how Oklahoma
you
got
could be
almost 11
a
o'clock games
West
this whole
Coast
year.
fan. A West Coast fan. There's noon games start at 9 a.m. for them.
Yeah, they can fuck them.
That's
They
that's
wake
just
up
tough.
ball.
Literally, like, and then I mean over here on the east, like with for me it's not as bad, but like there's night games, dude, that start at like 10:30. Like I don't think I'll be able to stay up and watch that. The Pack
Oh,
After
I know.
Dark or whatever.
Uh-huh. Yeah, forget that.
And then next we got the Big Ten championship. We got Michigan and Iowa. Michigan favored by 10.5.
Take Michigan.
I mean ten
Michigan
and
by
a half.
21.
Oh wow. I don't know. Iowa's defense is pretty good. I mean, I'm not gonna knock it, but I don't think Iowa's offense is that good.
Yeah.
I actually had tickets to those games and sold them after Ohio State lost. So
Yeah, I'll take Michigan to win.
unfortunately, I will too.
Just because there's a.
I really hope Iowa wins this game. I really do. There'd be nothing better than Michigan going to the Big Ten championship after beating Ohio State than losing. Oh man, but I just think Michigan's a better team than Iowa. Everybody
I
like
totally agree.
Iowa's weird to me because, like, would you think that they'd beat Iowa State?
Okay,
I
here
No.
think they
there's some
did.
there's complete context to that though. Iowa State had 4 turnovers. Okay,
And Iowa's
Iowa
defense was forcing
Iowa's
turnovers.
defense won them that game. Well, you could say forcing. Two of them
They
were
did a lot of
just
they did
that
it all year. That's why their defense is so good.
the two of them though were bad on the quarterback's fault, and that quarterback, I mean, he's the same reason why OU beat Iowa State because he choked at a. I don't know if you watched that game, but right before halftime, he came and he just fumbled the ball. Of course, Iowa State's quarterback played his best game of his career against Oklahoma State this year and beat them. And every other game, he's just
Yeah, because
mediocre.
hashtag fuck Oklahoma State.
Yeah, freaking. And
I mean,
Ames,
you
I
guys
hate
have
that
some.
place.
You guys have a past, don't you? Oklahoma State, and Iowa
Yeah,
State.
and it's the same thing with the same field goal. In 2011 is the year we got robbed. If we get robbed, if we win Baylor and we don't make the playoffs and we get robbed again, I don't know what's going to happen. I will lose it. I
Will
really
you
will
come down to
because
Nebraska for me?
no.
Well, I guess I'm coming to Oklahoma then.
There you
Yeah.
go. Well, and
I'm
just
going
like
to
that,
Norman.
that's gonna do it for today's episode. I want to thank you guys for coming on and joining me.
Did we cover Georgia Bama?
No, we didn't.
Oh wait, I skipped over Georgia Bama. Who
Yeah.
would have thought?
Wow.
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 I went straight from here. I went over here. But no, Georgia and Alabama SEC championship. Georgia favored by 6.5. I think they win. Here's the thing: this game's very hard to pick for me because Alabama struggled and all that, but Georgia has been tested. And it's
I
like,
completely agree. I am not going to. I'm going to pick Georgia to win, but I will not be surprised at all if Bama comes out and just destroys them just because it's Bama and
well,
Nick Saban.
here's what I could see. I
Because
could see
Georgia hasn't played
Alabama
anybody.
coming out and decisively beating Georgia, and they're not even
Right.
that much better or really that good. And then everyone's gonna be like, "Oh
So
my gosh, look what Alabama just did to Georgia!" And then
let
Georgia
me let
loses
me
in the
ask
first
you
round of
guys.
the playoffs.
Let me ask you guys if Bama just destroys Georgia by like 30 plus, okay? Um, and every other team wins out, Oklahoma State, Cincinnati, and Michigan. Does Georgia make it?
Yes.
They will, but they shouldn't. Put it that
They
way.
will
Yeah,
just
they
because
shouldn't.
they're in the SEC.
Yeah, they shouldn't.
Because
And
And they have
who's
one
Georgia's
loss.
best win?
Clemson,
Clemson.
Clemson's
Team
yeah,
not
and then
even in
Clemson's
their
yeah conference championship.
or in their conference or in the top. What's Clemson ranked now?
20, 18, something like that.
Like they don't have a win in the top. Do you know what I mean? Like that's nobody
Yeah,
else sees that,
Clemson's best one is Wake.
and it's just like so nobody else sees that Georgia hasn't played anybody.
So, yeah,
Clemson's
I completely
22,
agree.
and it's just like, and they beat them by a touchdown. To beat them 10-3, they only scored 10 points. Like Georgia's number
Alright.
one and should be, but it's not because of resume.
Well,
I
I gotta
agree.
go. Play
Okay,
some Warzone,
well I
some homies.
appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by, Cloud.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yep.
And y'all know what? Hashtag fuck Lincoln Riley.
There you go. So I saw a post here, Bryce, and I'm gonna go over it before we get off here. And it says that Georgia has 4 ranked wins.
I seen the same thing. You know who else? If you're gonna go by that metric, you know who else has 4 ranked wins?
Who?
Oklahoma State,
If you're
Alabama,
gonna go by that metric, Iowa has like 3,
Iowa. Yeah, no, Iowa's up there too. So
and
they
you're
just
counting a bad Indiana team who didn't even win. Or Indiana, and I will say this: Indiana's like the most injured team. They're on their 4th quarterback. I guess their season's over now, but they were on their 4th quarterback for the year, injured. They're missing their starting corners. Like I mean, I put it this way: Indiana's bad, but I don't think they're as bad as their record really showed. Like if they're fully healthy, like I think they're a little bit better. And Indiana and Vanderbilt are the only 2 teams not to beat a Power 5 team this year. Um, And the thing is,
Uh,
Iowa's getting a ranked win over them, and they're getting a ranked win over Iowa State, who's not ranked either. So it's
Iowa
just,
State has been such a letdown. I hate the fact
like
we
I
lost
said,
them.
they've been a big
They were
letdown.
predicted. Yeah, they
So
predicted to go to the playoff this year. So
yeah, they've been a letdown. So is North Carolina. They were in the preseason top 10.
mhm.
Let's see, there were some other teams that were just some big letdowns this year. They overrate Miami
Oklahoma.
every year. If I
They did
would
the
have
same thing
told
with
you
Texas,
before
though.
the year, yeah, they did the same thing with Texas. Um, so let me ask you this: if I would have told you before the season started that I said, hey, Oklahoma, Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, all four aren't making the playoff,
It's crazy.
what would you say?
No, that's crazy. And they did a thing for the playoff, the selection show earlier. If everything checks out in Oklahoma State, Cincy, Georgia, and Michigan play, out of all four of those teams, there's only been one playoff appearance.
It's
Only
Georgia.
one time out of four. Yeah, it was Georgia. That was
Yeah,
it.
this is a big year for the minorities of college football. I mean,
Let me ask you too, if that scenario does happen and Georgia doesn't end up winning the national championship, when will they ever win it? Really, realistically, when will they ever? That
I
was the
mean,
easiest playoff in history. When will they ever win it?
well, the thing is, at that
You got
point,
to think
too,
for every
I don't
single
really
team
think
in
you're
that
putting the best teams in at
scenario.
that point.
In that scenario, they I mean, I'm sure every single team in there thinking, "Wow, if we're gonna win, this will be the year." No, I sure am. I would love to play Cincinnati or Michigan.
Instead of a year where you have Alabama and Ohio State in there.
I think Alabama and Ohio State are better teams than Cincinnati and Oklahoma State. But if we're in there, then I'd much rather play Michigan or Cincinnati. I mean,
I'll be honest with you, 100% honest, straight up. I right now, barring how the conference championships go, I think a lot of people will be shocked if Cincinnati plays Georgia how that game goes.
what do you mean? If it'll be a close game?
Yes,
Oh, I think it will too. I think it'll be a close
I
game,
think that
100%.
there's potential that Cincinnati beats
I
them.
think I think if there's any team out of those four that'll win, it'll probably be Cincinnati. I
That
don't think. Here's the thing. I don't think Cincinnati would beat Michigan or Oklahoma State. I do think that Cincinnati would beat Georgia.
Geez, you know what's so weird about that? If those four are the teams for the playoff, there's not a great offense on any of them
Now it's all
at all.
defensive battles for the most part,
Right, all
and that's
four
why it'll be so
defenses.
good.
Like like all four of those, like the best offense, number one rated offense and number two rated offense, both would be out of the playoff.
Huh?
Which is
Same thing
weird.
with the like that's what I'm saying. Imagine it'll really come down
I made
to
that point to
offenses.
you. Remember that about defenses? I said that.
Yeah, defense wins championships.
Yeah, and now we're here. Well, we'll see how the conference championships go. I really think the hardest one to pick is Georgia and Alabama, and it's not like for the usual like, man, these are two heavyweights. I wonder who's gonna win. I think it's really of I don't know what either of these teams are made of. Well, I know what
Oh yeah,
Alabama is. They just not. They're
'cause
just not
Bama's
that great
been
this year.
tested. That's the thing. Bama's been tested. Georgia hasn't. But Georgia dominated everyone, and Bama hasn't. So it's
Yeah, it's. I mean,
even in both
it's just
categories.
like Alabama's been tested, but they haven't responded in normal Alabama fashion. I would say where they look so dominant and everything, where you just feel comfortable like, oh, it's Bama. Well, it's not Bama. It's a different Bama than past years. But Georgia again, like, who have they played to test them? Like, I don't know. That should be one of the weirdest games. I mean, you got to think your game. You're going to Baylor and Oklahoma State. That's a great game. I mean, both of us would have been at a championship game. I would have been at Big Ten, but I'm not going to Michigan,
Uh-huh.
Iowa, 2 hours away from me. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
showing up in
interesting.
state gear.
Yeah, they'd be like, "What's up with this guy?" Yeah, just gonna avoid that. But it was fun having you on. I'm gonna end the stream now.
Right.